On the eve of my wedding to Isabelle Sterling, I took $500,000 and ran. I left her standing at the altar of our future, and no matter how brokenly she searched for me, I never looked back. 2 years later, I was working as a personal trainer at a high-end gym when she walked back in my life. In the dim light of a fire escape stairwell, she cornered me, her heels clicking like a countdown on the concrete. A black credit card, one of those heavy metal ones, hit my cheek at sharp corners, stinging my skin. "You like money, don't you?" she said, her voice a silken thread. "I have plenty." She let the card drop to the floor. "Take it, and stay by my side. Don't even think about running again." The moment I saw her, I froze, a chill shooting up my spine. It's over. That was the only thought in my head. How could it be her? We hadn't spoken a word since I vanished. How, in a city of millions, did our paths cross again right now? She advanced slowly, the click-clack of her stilettos echoing my frantic heartbeat. The closer she got, the more the terror must have shown on my face. "What's wrong?" A cool smile played on her lips as she pinched my chin, her thumb tracing my trembling mouth. "Not happy to see me?" "Isabelle." I thought that silhouette looked familiar. Her grip tightened, her smile turning predatory. "I can't believe it's really you, Leo." She let her eyes drift over my simple trainer's uniform. "This is a members-only club. Care to explain what you're doing here?" My lips trembled, but no words came out. After a long moment, seeing me standing there, pale and mute, she released me with a sigh of boredom. "I'll have a word with the manager. They shouldn't be letting the riffraff in." Her words cut deep. I grab her arm, my voice a low, angry growl. "Why do you have to be like this?" Isabelle turned her head, looking down her nose at me. To anyone else, her smile might have been captivating. To me, it was terrifying. "Like what?" she scoffed. "You're not important enough for me to go out of my way for." "Then why?" "Because watching you squirm is fun," she said, arching a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. "Isn't it? If this is about what happened, I can." "Don't." Her voice was ice. "I told myself if I ever saw you again, I wouldn't let you off easy. The fact that I'm letting you walk away now is a kindness." She turned to leave again, and I blocked her path, desperation overriding pride. "Please, I need this job." "And how is that my problem?" she laughed. "Whatever I can give. Anything." The words tasted like ash in my mouth. That finally seemed to pique her interest. She turned back, her eyes locking onto mine. "Tell me more. What exactly can you give?" "Anything," I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. Her finger traced a slow path from my Adam's apple down to my collarbone. "For example," she mused, "you could be my plaything, my pet, something to help me pass the time." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Am I beck and call?" My fists clenched, but then, slowly, they uncurled. I needed the money. If I got fired, there was no way I could come up with the cash in time. Even as I saw the humiliation dancing in her eyes, I gave a slight, defeated nod. "Huh." Her laugh was pure mockery. "What happened to your pride? Men are lining up to please me, Leo. What makes you think you're special?" She looked me up and down. "God, you're so pathetic right now. It's actually making me laugh." Her eyes held no emotion, like she was looking at a cheap trinket in a flea market. There was nothing special left. But once, those same eyes had been filled with a love so pure and unguarded it took my breath away. I had run away when we were at our peak, leaving her alone to face the wreckage. The woman standing before me now was a stranger. I never knew she could look so cold. In that moment, the reality of my situation crashed down on me. I finally understood what it meant to feel your blood run cold. A wave of shame washed over me, my mind going blank. All I wanted to do was escape. Willing to trade your dignity for cash. Isabelle, of course, noticed my discomfort and twisted the knife, her tone casual, as if discussing the weather. "I have my reasons," I said, shutting my eyes against her dissecting gaze. "Let's hear them." She narrowed her eyes. "But spare me the soap opera. I'm not in the mood." For the first time, seeing such raw pain on my face seemed to give her a flicker of satisfaction. When I didn't speak, she wasn't surprised. "What's wrong?" "Can't keep up the act." She even started to joke, a cruel smirk on her face. "Aren't you supposed to tell me about your gambling addict father, your dying mother, and the little brother who needs college tuition? Aren't you supposed to beg me for money?" Growing up in her world, she heard every sob story imaginable from people willing to do anything for a taste of wealth and power. What truly infuriated her, I knew, was that back when we were together, she had offered to help me, but my pride had pushed her away every single time. I was the man. I couldn't be a burden. Seeing my continued silence, Isabelle's expression flickered. "Don't give me that disgusting look. It's not like I forced you." Her gaze turned calculating, as if assessing an investment. "But, for old time's sake, I'll give you one more chance." I'm curious to see just how far you'll go to please me. She reached out, her fingers playing with my earlobe. Perform well today, and I might consider your request. She was treating me like a toy. The humiliation was a physical blow, but I couldn't fight back. In stark contrast to my dejection, her eyes lit up with a perverse excitement as she pushed me back into the stairwell. Looks like you haven't learned a thing in 2 years, she taunted. Let's just get out of here first. I tried to pull away. Oh, so you have some shame left. She pressed her hand firmly against my lips. If you're going to beg, you need to have the right attitude. Did you really think you were in any position to make demands? She was right. With her, I never had the right to bargain. Seeing my resistance, a flash of annoyance crossed her face. She stopped, her voice dropping to a dangerous low. It seems you still don't get it. In that case, she paused for effect. Maybe you don't need that job after all. No, I can do it. As Isabelle turned to leave, I grabbed her arm and pulled her back. Under her questioning gaze, I slowly began to peel off my thin workout jacket. In the end, she did nothing. She just stared at me for a long time, her expression unreadable, before quietly telling me to go. Isabelle, you could be a real monster. You're right, she murmured, her voice a low, lazy drawl as she straightened her clothes. And you were just unlucky enough to get caught by me again. Besides, let me remind you, I wasn't going to do anything. You're the one who came crawling to me. It was almost 1 a.m. when I got home. The emotional drain of seeing Isabelle had left me utterly exhausted. I collapsed onto my bed, not wanting to move a muscle. I closed my eyes, but my mind was a movie screen, replaying scenes from the past. The first time I met her, the moments we shared, it all flashed by, so vivid it felt like yesterday. I met Isabelle during my sophomore year of college. She was a freshman, and, as part of the student government, I was assigned to be her orientation guide. Back then, she was a bright, bubbly girl, sheltered and protected by her family. There was a purity to her, a genuine kindness that made her impossible to forget. As I got to know her, I fell for the real person underneath. To my surprise, before I could work up the nerve to confess my feelings, she beat me to it. After that, we were like any other college couple, deeply in love. During my senior year, I worked myself to the bone, desperate to build a future for us after graduation. But reality is a cruel master. The day I came home, a diamond ring hidden in my pocket, ready to propose, I opened the door to find 2 strangers sitting in my living room. They introduced themselves as Isabelle's parents. They surveyed my small, rented apartment with open disdain before her father slid a bank card across the table. His voice was laced with condescension. You see this? This life you have, it's not good enough for our Izzy. We understand you kids are having fun, and we thank you for looking after her these past few years, but we will not approve a marriage. Then, her mother spoke, her tone softer but no less sharp. Son, a person has to know their place. You could work your entire life and never reach our level. Don't go thinking some fairy tale will happen. A sparrow is still a sparrow, no matter what branch it lands on. She paused. And we don't want Isabelle to turn against us because of you. You're a smart boy. You know what you have to do, don't you? Every word was a knife in my heart. I wanted to argue, to tell them I would give Isabelle the world, that I would never let her suffer. But in the face of their silent, dismissive judgment, I lowered my head. The breakup was ugly. To do what her parents demanded, I had to stage a performance. I called a few friends, had them come with me. I met her at her spot, and, right to her face, I told her she was nothing without her family's money. Then, I took the hand of one of the most popular girls on campus and walked away. I don't know what joy she was feeling on her way to meet me that day. I only know that when I glanced back one last time, all I saw on her face was a dead, hollow silence. After the breakup, I tried to ask about her, secretly. I heard she left the country that same night, deleting all of our mutual friends from her contacts. Seeing Isabelle today, the change was staggering. The vibrant, cheerful girl was gone, replaced by a woman with an aura so cold it kept everyone at a distance. She had every right to hate me. The damage I'd done was permanent. I laughed bitterly at myself. But I couldn't lose this job. Even if it meant enduring her humiliation, I deserved it. I would take it. Just as I was drifting off, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I hesitated, a strange premonition telling me it was her. I was right. The moment I answered, Isabelle's slightly slurred voice came through the line. Leo, get your ass over here. Now, are you drunk? I asked carefully. She would never use that familiar, demanding tone unless she was. MMHMM. I'm in a very bad mood. You need to get over here. If I don't see you in 10 minutes, you're finished, she threatened softly. Someone in the background said something to her, and after a muffled reply, she abruptly hung up. I knew Isabelle. She was a creature of habit. If she went to a bar, it would be the Crimson Door, our old favorite. Without a second thought, I threw on a jacket and ran downstairs, hailing a cab despite it being 4 in the morning. The moment I stepped inside, I saw her. Isabelle was surrounded by a group of 7 or 8 guys, with only her best friend, Chloe, trying to hold her up. 2 women against a crowd of leering men. They looked terrified. I strode over and pushed myself between them, shielding the women with my body. I shot a cold glare at the ringleader. Dude, 8 on 2? Harassing women in public? Not a good look. Who's the pretty boy? The burly man sneered. You want a piece of this too? He laughed. Tell you what, I'm a reasonable guy. Get in line. After we've had our fun, maybe there'll be something left for you. So we're not going to talk this out. It wasn't a question. I didn't waste another word. I balled up my fist and drove it straight into the man's face. Before anyone could react, I grabbed a nearby bar stool, smashed it on the floor, and used the splintered leg to charge the rest of them. A year as a personal trainer hadn't turned me into a bodybuilder, but it had given me strength. And with the element of surprise, I sent them reeling. By the time they recovered enough to fight back, I had already scooped up Isabelle and was making a run for it. With her on my back and Chloe guiding me, we navigated a maze of back alleys and finally escaped out the rear of the bar. The jostling and the cold night air seemed to sober Isabelle up a little. She started struggling, trying to get off my back. Let me go. I don't want you to carry me. You backstabbing, cheating bastard. Who said you could touch me? She punctuated her tirade by sinking her teeth into my shoulder. I hissed in pain, but didn't react further. I just looked at Chloe. Thanks for looking after her tonight. I'll get you both home. No way. Chloe shook her head frantically. When this one gets like this, I can't handle her. You take her. She was screaming your name all night anyway. Chloe and I were not strangers. When Isabelle and I first got together, Chloe, as her fiercely protective best friend, had made her disapproval of me clear. Isabelle spent months playing mediator between us, until Chloe eventually got used to our constant bickering. Now, seeing her again under these circumstances was awkward. After the breakup, she had waged a one-woman smear campaign against me, plastering flyers calling me a scumbag all over campus, and even getting the student newspaper to run a story. If Isabelle hated me the most, Chloe was a close second. I figured if Isabelle wasn't currently passed out on my back, Chloe would be trying to tear me apart with her bare hands. I'm warning you, Leo. Don't think for a second I've forgiven you, she said, her voice sharp. If Izzy wasn't clinging to you for dear life, I wouldn't have let you anywhere near her. She jabbed a finger at my chest. And if I find out you've hurt her again, it won't be campus flyers next time. I'll make sure you learn exactly what happens when you piss off someone with money. After delivering her threats, Chloe called her driver and left. As her car disappeared down the street, I carefully guided Isabelle into a taxi. The truth was, a drunk Isabelle wasn't the wild terror Chloe described. On the contrary, she usually just became quiet. I gently laid her on my bed and got a bowl of warm water to wipe her face. As I stood up to leave, her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Don't go, she murmured, her voice soft and sleepy. I froze, looking back to see her eyes were still closed. Isabelle, I'm just going to get you some water. And something for your hangover. Just let go for a second, okay? I knelt beside the bed, my voice gentle. Her grip only tightened. No, the second I let go, you'll run away again. The childish tone sent a jolt through me, throwing me back to the early days of our love. A lump formed in my throat, and my voice softened even more. I won't. This is my home. Where would I go? Please let go. If you don't drink something now, you'll feel terrible tomorrow. Then you carry me, she demanded, wrapping her arms around my neck and pulling herself up. To keep her from falling, I had no choice but to lift her into my arms. The scene was achingly familiar, a perfect echo of when we first got together, desperate to be close, following each other everywhere. But it was a bittersweet memory. I knew that as soon as she was sober, the warmth would vanish, replaced by icy hatred. She'd probably want to skin me alive. The thought made me let out a small, sad laugh. I shook my head and held her tighter as I walked to the kitchen. Lost in my thoughts, worrying about how I'd explain her presence in my apartment in the morning, I didn't see the faint, satisfied smile that graced her lips. Just as I'd predicted, the first thing Isabelle did upon waking was kick me out of bed. Leo, who gave you permission to touch me? She demanded, her face a thundercloud. You were drunk last night, I explained from the floor. I didn't know where you lived, so I brought you here. I only have one bed. I couldn't exactly sleep on the floor, could I? Oomph. Who knows what you were really thinking, she muttered, swinging her legs off the bed. But the moment her feet touched the ground, she gasped and clutched her stomach, collapsing back onto the mattress. Stomach again? I frowned, seeing the cold sweat on her forehead. I hurried to the living room, found my stash of antacids, poured a glass of warm water, and brought it to her. Your stomach always hurts the day after you drink. Didn't we agree you were going to quit? Why are you drinking like this again? The words and actions were so reflexive, so ingrained from our past, I forgot we were broken up. I was just nagging her like I always had. The moment the words left my mouth, I realized my mistake. Isabelle quietly took the pills and water from me, saying nothing. The silence was thick and awkward. Just as I was about to say something, anything to break it, she looked up at me. "And what position are you in to question me?" she asked, her voice cold. "Don't forget, Leo, I'm not your girlfriend anymore. You bring me to your apartment without my consent, and now you want to dictate how I live my life." I had expected it, but her words still felt like a punch to the gut. I crossed the line. "I'm sorry," I mumbled, looking down. "You think a simple sorry fixes everything?" she sneered. But the threat was undercut by her pained expression as she curled into a ball on the bed. I sighed, defeated. "I know you hate me, but your stomach hurts. Just rest. You can tear me to shreds when you feel better." I pulled the blanket over her. "I'll make you some oatmeal. You should eat before you go." Isabelle didn't stay for the oatmeal. But before she left, she paused at the door and delivered one last parting shot. "Don't think because I showed you a moment of weakness you can get cocky. Remember your place. You're the one who begged to stay by my side, like a dog on a leash." For a second, I thought I'd lost my mind. How could I have ever believed her drunken phone call was a veiled attempt at reconciliation? That wasn't her style. Her way of getting revenge was to give someone a glimmer of hope, only to snatch it away and watch them fall. Yes, at her core, Isabelle could be that cruel. I ate the oatmeal by myself, then rushed to get ready for work. My mind was a mess all morning, a knot of anxiety in my stomach. I kept worrying she'd actually talk to my manager and get me fired. "Leo? Coach, is this right?" A client's voice pulled me back to reality. I looked at the woman on the weight machine. "Your form is good, but you're not engaging the right muscles. It should be more like this." I moved to adjust her posture. As I turned back to add more weight to the stack, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing just outside the glass doors. "Coach?" the woman asked, looking at me with concern. "Keep going with this weight for another 30 minutes, I said quickly. "I need to use the restroom." I rushed out and, just as I expected, found Isabelle and Chloe in the hallway, watching me with matching smirks. Well, someone's popular," Isabelle began, her voice dripping with her signature brand of sarcastic venom. "I guess the real reason you're so desperate to keep this job is all the pretty young things you get to train." "Izzy," Chloe tugged on her friend's sleeve, glancing nervously at me. "Am I wrong?" Isabelle's voice rose, attracting curious glances from people in other rooms. "He made such a big deal about being too good for my dirty money when he dumped me. Now look at him, sucking up to the next rich woman who walks through the door." My face flushed with heat. "Isabelle, if you have a problem with me, we can discuss it in private. Please don't disturb the other clients." To my relief, Isabelle didn't want an audience either. With a sharp huff, she grabbed Chloe's arm and stormed into an empty yoga studio nearby. We stood in silence. Even Chloe, who usually tried to ease the tension, seemed to shrink under the icy glare Isabelle was directing at me. She retreated to a corner and started fiddling with some yoga blocks. I finally broke the silence. "There's nothing going on with that client. She was a referral from a friend." I didn't know why I felt the need to explain, but I couldn't stand the thought of her believing that about me. "What does it have to do with me?" Isabelle said coolly, but I saw her expression soften ever so slightly. A flicker of hope ignited in my chest. I need the money to buy the apartment I'm renting. The landlord is moving out of the country this year and offer me a good price if I can pay in full." There was another reason, of course. It was the apartment we had rented together a year into our relationship. I had never moved, never changed the passcode on the door because I couldn't let go of the memories. I didn't say that part out loud, but I hoped she understood. "You're short on cash?" she asked, arching an eyebrow. "What happened to the other woman you latched onto after me? Didn't she give you any money?" I looked her straight in the eye. "If I told you there hasn't been anyone else since you, would you believe me?" Isabelle froze, her expression shifting through a dozen emotions before she settled back on defiance. "Why should I care who you're with? Don't forget, Leo, you're the one who stood there and told me I was worthless. And now you're feeding me this line? What's next? You're going to tell me you had a noble reason for it all, and you regret it now." Just as the conversation was about to spiral, Chloe, who had been pretending to be invisible, finally stepped in. "Izzy, we agreed we weren't going to fight," she said, positioning herself between us. She gave Isabelle a placating look, then shot me a withering glare over her shoulder. "And you, Leo, all these years, and you still haven't learned a thing. God gave you a mouth for a reason. I was still trying to figure out what she meant when she turned back to Isabelle. You said you wanted to talk. How come the second you see him, you turn into a firecracker with a lit fuse? If the situation weren't so tense, Chloe looked like she wanted to grab both our heads and knock them together. This family would fall apart without me. Isabelle, looking slightly sheepish, gave Chloe a light shove on the shoulder before clearing her throat and glaring at me. It's his fault. With Chloe acting as a buffer, our conversation finally became civil. According to her, Isabelle hadn't gone back to her family's estate when she returned to the U.S. She had come looking for me. Our reunion at the gym was a meticulously planned event. Even the drunken phone call and her spending the night were deliberate. All this time, I thought I was the only one pathetically keeping tabs on her. It turned out she was doing the same, using Chloe as her source for information about my life. Of course, she told Chloe it was all for the sake of revenge. But Chloe had seen us at our most ridiculously in love. She saw right through Isabelle's flimsy excuse. You've known the truth about what happened back then for a while now, haven't you? Chloe said, nudging Isabelle toward me. And I don't like this guy, but even I have to admit, he's been living like a monk these past 2 years. She gave me a pointed look before gracefully exiting the room, her mission accomplished. We were left standing there, staring at each other. So you. We both started at the same time. I scratched the back of my neck. You go first. Don't think for a second I came back to get back together with you, she said defensively. I just wanted to see how pathetic your life was without me. I came back to laugh at you. I would have almost believed her if I hadn't seen the tips of her ears, peeking through her hair, glowing bright red. I had to suppress a smile. Isabelle's pride was as fragile as ever. So, I asked gently, how have you been these past 2 years? The question seemed to strike a nerve. Her eyes instantly welled up. What kind of question is that? Did you think I'd fall apart after you left? You underestimate me. There's a line of guys waiting to date me. I'm sorry, I said, looking down. I glanced at my own clothes, a shirt that cost less than $20, and then at her earrings, which were probably worth more than my monthly salary. The bitter taste of inadequacy filled my mouth again. I didn't want to hold you back. 2 people from different worlds. It never would have ended well. I finally said the words I hadn't dared to say back then. And I'm the man. If being with me meant you had to give up your life, your comfort, how could I ever ask you to build a future with me? My parents were right, Izzy. I could work my whole life and never climb to where you are. But what gives you the right to think for me? She cut in, her voice trembling with anger. What gives you the right to make decisions about my future? Leo, we were together for years. Do you really not know what I wanted? Yes, you're right. If we got married, life would be full of struggles over bills and rent. But how do you know I wouldn't have wanted to face that with you? How do you know I couldn't have worked hard right alongside you? Just because you're the man and I'm the woman, does that mean I have to follow your plan? What did you take me for? Her questions hammered me into silence. She was right. I only ever thought about how I would be dragging her down. I never once stopped to ask if she was willing to fight with me. I gave a bitter laugh. You're right. I was arrogant. Good that you know it, she snapped. If you had just asked me, just once, I would have stood up to my parents with you. But you didn't say a word. You just teamed up with your friends and put on a show for me. Brilliant, Leo. Just brilliant. Her voice hardened. You don't think you're good enough for me? Fine. I'm back now, and my parents have already arranged a blind date. I hear he's a great guy, from a good family. We're a perfect match. If all goes well, our engagement party will be in 2 months. You should come. Have a drink on us. She practically spat the last words at me. Then, as if for dramatic effect, she pulled a lavish invitation from her purse and slapped it against my chest. You're my embarrassing ex-boyfriend. It's only fair you come and see what a man who's actually worthy of me looks like. I was still standing there long after Isabelle and Chloe left, my mind reeling. The only thing I could hear was a single phrase, repeating over and over. In 2 months, Isabelle is getting married to someone else. The image of her in a white dress, smiling as she walked down the aisle on another man's arm, sent a sharp, physical pain through my chest. But what right did I have to be angry? I was just the ex-boyfriend. That night, for the first time in years, I called my best friend, Big Mike, and got completely wasted. Leo, man, you gotta slow down, Mike said, eyeing the empty case of beer between us as I reached for another. I'm fine. I can handle it. My tolerance was shot. I was already seeing double, but if I wasn't drinking, what else could I do? Look, brother, don't beat yourself up, he said, trying to be helpful. So you missed out on the one who doesn't have regrets. You gotta move on. Mike knew our whole story. He'd even got me the job at the gym. He knew Isabelle was back. Honestly, though, he continued, everyone thought you two were in-game. We all figured you'd be the first of us to get married right after college. Who knew? He sighed. And dude, I'm not trying to kick you when you're down, but what you did was not cool. It wasn't a man's move. If I were her, I'd be disappointed too. He clapped me on the shoulder, and seeing that I wasn't going to stop, he just grabbed a beer and joined me. Do you know what I was thinking? I slurred, my vision blurring, when her parents slid that card across the table. It was like I was back in that room. You should have seen the way they looked at me. Like I was garbage. They said it was $500,000 to leave her. And in that moment, all I could think was, why? Why were they so sure that being with me meant she would suffer? I was so angry. I wanted to prove them all wrong. But then, I laughed without humor and took another long swig of beer. The bitterness of the alcohol mixed with the salt of my tears, and a dull ache spread through my chest. They just show me a list, an itemized list of her expenses since she was a child. The numbers. That long string of numbers was like a dagger that just twisted and twisted until every last shred of my pride was gone. If she left me, she would stay a princess, adored by everyone. If she stayed with me, all I had to offer was my worthless love. I looked at my friend, my vision swimming. Mike, what else could I do? Who cares what you did then? If you can't let her go, then go after her one more time. No matter what happens, at least you'll give your story a proper ending, right? I have no memory of how I got home that night. But when I woke up the next morning, Mike's words echoed in my head, and it was like a switch had been flipped. He was right. Even if it was a long shot, if I didn't even try to fight for her with this last chance, I knew I would regret it for the rest of my life. Even if the ending was the same, watching her marry someone else, at least I could fix the mistakes of the past. I called my boss and took a few days off. I showered, shaved, and put on a new shirt I bought recently. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I gave myself a pep talk. You only get to be this crazy once. You were a coward then. You can't run away now. The only person I knew who could get me in touch with Isabelle was Chloe. I gritted my teeth, sent her a Venmo for $1,000, and endured a long string of her mocking texts before she finally agreed to set up a meeting. When I saw Isabelle, it felt like our first date all over again. I was so nervous I didn't know what to do with my hands. Well, she said, sitting down, what did you want? My time is valuable, you know. Izzy, I started, my voice shaky. I know I was wrong. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking for a chance to make it up to you. I was careful with my words, not explicitly saying I wanted her back. Whatever it takes to make you feel better. If you want me to be your dog, I'll do it. My eyes were locked on hers, on that familiar, beautiful face. I instinctively started to raise my hand to touch her cheek. Isabelle flinched away. What are you doing? We're talking. Don't touch me. Sorry. I quickly dropped my hand, grabbing my glass to hide my embarrassment. I took a sip. The sour, bitter taste exploded on my tongue, and my face twisted in disgust. Suddenly, Isabelle laughed. A real, genuine laugh. Is my coffee that good? She asked, a playful glint in her eye. In my nervousness, I'd grab her cup instead of my own glass of juice. I hated coffee, but she drank it every day. When we were first dating, she used to love switching our cups just to see the horrified look on my face. She would laugh just like that. The memory made me curse myself all over again. I had thrown away a girl this wonderful with my own two hands. Leo, we're adults now, she said, her smile fading. Some things don't need to be spelled out. I know why you asked Chloe to set this up. But what makes you think that just because you decide to turn around, I'll be waiting for you right where you left me? Her smile was gone, replaced by a serious, piercing gaze. I opened my mouth, but my mind was blank. The disappointment in Isabelle's eyes grew. She let out a self-deprecating laugh. And here I was, actually expecting you to say something meaningful. I guess I overestimated you. You haven't changed at all, Leo. She stood up to leave, and I instinctively shot out and grabbed her wrist. What's the point of this? She asked, her voice weary. No, Izzy, listen to me. I pleaded, shaking my head. I know whatever I say now will sound like an excuse. I admit, the way I broke up with you was wrong. It was a terrible thing to do. I took a breath. No, that's not right. Everything I've done, from the moment we met again, has been a disappointment to you. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking for a chance to make up for all the pain I caused you. The words tumbled out of me in a rush. Even if you still hate me in the end, at least I don't want to be remembered as a coward. I looked her straight in the eye. Please, give me one more chance. Can you do that? I waited for her verdict, my heart pounding so hard I didn't even notice my palms were slick with sweat. After a long moment, Isabelle slowly sat back down. She crossed her arms, tilted her chin up, and looked at me with an air of regal authority. Fine, you can have your chance. And just like you said, you can start by being my servant as compensation. After that day, she didn't refuse my invitations. I threw everything I had into those 2 months, trying to make up for lost time, trying to do all the things we dreamed of but never got the chance to do. The smiles on Isabelle's face became more frequent. She stopped, lacing her words with sarcasm, but I still felt a hollow space in my chest. Even though the tension was gone, I felt her drifting further away. On the last day of her 2-month deadline, I took her to the place where she first told me she loved me. We walked side by side down a tree-lined path on our old college campus. The space between us was only shoulder's width. All I had to do was reach out and take her hand. I hesitated, then finally summoned my courage and reached for her. She sidestepped my hand. I forced a smile to hide my disappointment. "Do you remember this place?" "How could I forget?" she replied, acting as if nothing had happened. "I've always regretted being the first one to confess. I missed out on hearing your version." "Izzy," I said, stopping in my tracks. I called her name again, softer this time. "Isabelle." She turned back, a question in her eyes. And at that exact moment, the path plunged into darkness. Relying on my memory of where she stood, I took 2 steps forward in the dark and snapped my fingers. A split second later, small fairy lights strung in the trees began to glow, lighting up one by one, creating a twinkling runway down the path. In Isabelle's stunned silence, I slowly dropped to one knee. From my pocket, I pulled out the ring that was 2 years late. "Izzy, I owe you a proper confession," I began, my voice thick with emotion. "Today is the last day of our agreement, and I want to make it right. You once told me that a real confession starts with flowers and the words, 'I love you.'" As I spoke, I reached behind me and, like a magician, pulled a massive bouquet of sunflowers from my backpack, offering it to her. "Izzy, I love you. Will you be my girlfriend?" The moment the words left my lips, tears were streaming down both our faces. But Isabelle didn't take the flowers. She didn't answer my question. She just stood there, watching me in silence. My hand tightened around the ring box. Not wanting to pressure her, I managed a weak, wobbly smile. "You don't have to feel pressured. I just wanted to give you what I owed you. I was just thinking," she interrupted, her voice choked with tears, "that if you let me walk away today without saying anything, I was never going to speak to you again." She turned her back for a moment to wipe her eyes, then faced me again, her cheeks flushed, and took the flowers and the ring from my hands. "Leo, do you have any idea how infuriating you are?" "I'm sorry, Izzy. Is that all you can do? Apologize, make me cry, and then abandon me? What else are you good for?" She glared at me. "You're the worst. Such a man, yet all you know how to do is run away." She was right. I was the worthless one. It had always been her, try to close the distance between us. My own eyes burned, and the apology on my lips died before it could be spoken. All I could offer was a lame promise. "If you don't like it, I can change. Whatever you hate about me, I swear I'll never do it again." "Easy for you to say," she mumbled, turning her head away. "Did you do all this yourself?" "Yes. I know you love sunflowers, so I picked these out at the flower shop this morning and wrapped them myself. The ring. I bought it 2 years ago when I was going to propose, but I didn't want to bring up the painful past, so I quickly changed the subject." "Do you like it?" "It's adequate," she said, examining the bouquet. "So that's why you were carrying that backpack all day." A small smile played on her lips. "And the lights? You arranged this too? Must have cost a fortune." I scratched my head, embarrassed. "I just asked Big Mike to help out." As expected, my Aunt Ermy and I roll. "This bouquet is wrapped so ugly." But the smile on her face betrayed her true feelings, and I couldn't help but smile back. On the way home, I watched her profile in the passenger seat and finally asked the most important question. "Izzy, are you really getting engaged to someone else tomorrow?" Isabelle was silent for a long time. Then she looked at me. "And if I said yes, what would you do? Are you going to crash the party?" She said it like a joke, but it made me think. After these last 2 months, I knew she still had feelings for me. And Chloe had told me the first thing Isabelle did when she got back was find me. It was impossible she'd even met this supposed fiancé. Knowing Isabelle, she would never force herself to be with someone she didn't love. So, crashing the wedding. It's not entirely out of the question, is it? I glanced at her carefully and saw a mischievous smile playing on her lips. Suddenly, it clicked. The engagement is fake, isn't it? "You idiot." Isabelle burst out laughing. "Took you long enough to figure it out. Izzy, I gave you your chance, Leo," she said, holding the sunflowers in one arm and extending her other hand to me. "Are you going to let go of me again?" A jolt went through me. I grabbed her hand and held it tight. "Never. Not even if you killed me. So, have you figured out how you're going to explain this to my parents?" "Nope," I answered, surprisingly defiant. "But I'll show them with my actions. I will never let you suffer a single day for being with me." "Oh, really?" Isabelle smiled. "Wasn't it just a few weeks ago that someone was groveling to me just to keep a job?" The mention of that day made my face burn. I finally told her the truth. because all the money I'd saved up was tied up in an investment. Big Mike and I started a small company a couple of years ago. It's doing well, and I've saved some money, but I was still short on cash to buy the apartment in one lump sum. So Mike recommended the trainer job. The hours didn't conflict with the business, and the pay was really good, so I trailed off, embarrassed. The truth was I'd done all sorts of odd jobs these past 2 years, all to try and catch up to her, to prove I was worthy. I had gotten used to swallowing my pride for money. "You fool," she said gently. "Did you ever stop to think why the landlord suddenly demanded the full payment up front?" My brain short-circuited. "That apartment building is owned by my mother," she said, a triumphant smile on her face. "And the landlord you met? That's Mr. Henderson, our family's estate manager." So, the demand for the full payment was a test. A test from my future mother-in-law, to see if I would give up. The moment you agreed to their terms, that you'd have the full amount in 6 months, my mother basically gave me her blessing to come back and find you, she explained. "Honestly, why else do you think I was stuck overseas for so long?" Of course, it all made sense now. Everything clicked into place. I looked at the woman in front of me, overwhelmed with emotion, and pulled her into a fierce embrace. Thank God that people who truly love each other don't miss their chance forever. Thank God that after all the detours and wrong turns, the person by my side was still and always you.